We've seen some pretty wild uses of AI already, but now companies are teaming to actually kind of bring back the dead. And this is something that's kind of wild. It's kind of creepy. I'm not even sure where I stand on this with the moral implications of what it means and, what the authorization should be in this sort of situation. But at the same time, there is something kind of cool about it. It does liken back to something different, which I'll talk about in a moment. And this is something that happened at LA Comic Con this weekend with Stan Lee, a hologram that you could go in and you go into a booth and you can actually interact with and ask the Stan Lee AI questions, and Stan Lee would respond. Interesting stuff right here. And again, this caused no shortage of controversy over the weekend. A lot of people were talking about how they hated it. A lot of people were talking about how cool it was. What is the right thing here? I don't know the answer. It's beyond my pay grade. But hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things AI here on The AI Writer. And of course, Stan Lee was one of the greatest writers in comic book history. He built up Marvel Comics and was an icon, right? And toward the end of his life, he was definitely exploited. Comic Cons, they would trot him out even while he was suffering and forced him to do autographs, forced him to do the picture stuff, even when he was really tired and the like. It was pretty nasty towards the end of his life how he was treated. There was a situation where they even drew blood of his as a collectible. I mean, it was creepy. And this is what they did. Now, on the Marvel end, he did all these cameos in the Marvel movies. Marvel actually filmed a bunch more of those cameo ideas so they could continue to place those into the movies even after he died, if you were not aware of that. So he was mostly okay with using his likeness. He likes being an icon. He, of course, was a serial marketer. This was kind of what he was all about. So would Stan Lee would have actually liked something like this? The answer is probably, but at the same time, it is kind of creepy, kind of weird. And so there's a lot to digest here as we get into this. So what happened here? The future arrived at LA Comic Con this year in the form of a lifelike Stan Lee hologram, allowing fans to interact with the late Marvel creator through cutting-edge AI technology. The experience offers a glimpse into a world where digital resurrection becomes possible, raising questions about consent and exploitation. So this is done by a company called Proto Hologram and Hyperreal, and they collaborated to create this interactive avatar, training a large language model on decades of Lee's writings, interviews, and public appearances. Unlike standard AI chatbots, this system includes strict guardrails to ensure the responses stay true to Lee's known persona and interests. They said, we take Stan Lee's words and import them into the model, and we put the rails by the side of it, so he doesn't go off and talk about things that Stan wouldn't have said. The AI Stan Lee greets fans with familiar enthusiasm. My favorite thing about being at a comic convention is getting to meet all the amazing fans and hearing their stories about how Marvel has impacted their lives, he says in the late actor's voice. His experience, and this is what's kind of interesting about it, feels like stepping into Star Trek's holodeck. So if you've never watched Star Trek, they have a holodeck program where they actually bring in different scenarios and create different characters and the like out of thin air, and you interact with them like an AI, and that's what the holodeck does. And they actually did this a lot with different historical characters. They had Albert Einstein playing poker. They had, of course, Sherlock Holmes, and a fictional character in there. They had some stuff from the Wild West. You'd get to meet all these different characters and the like through the Star Trek holodeck, fictional and real. And that was the case. Now, the creepy one actually happened, if you remember this episode, where Geordi actually made a hologram of Dr. Leah Brahms and fell in love with the hologram version of her and then tried to woo the real version of her. Very, very funny stuff. But it's like, ooh, that might go too far in that instance. And that's the question mark with where is the line on this? Like I said, just knowing Stan Lee's persona and the way that he liked to get on the cutting edge of things and actually be a serial promoter, especially at Comic Cons and the like, I think Stan Lee would have probably approved of something like this. And of course, his estate is selling the likeness and all that to make this happen. So at least they approve of this. There are other people who probably would not approve of this sort of thing. And I think that sort of approval and the like needs to be given at this point to make something real or not. Otherwise, it becomes kind of ugly. I talked about other things in the past. There was ARP's investigation into elder abuse of Stan Lee. And they were, of course, taking his money and just doing crazy things with him. It's a fairly extensive article on this. I already gave the summary of what goes on this front. Now, the hologram was used all weekend at LA Comic Con. There it is. And this was a booth. You could go in and interact with this Stan Lee. They actually charged $20 for the experience. So fans were willing to pay for this and stand in line and do this kind of thing. An interesting use of AI technology, to say the least. But where is the moral line on this? Maybe you guys can tell me. Maybe you have an opinion. Leave that down below. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Really appreciate you being here as we talk about all things AI, and we'll be back soon.